Hello, YouTubers. Reloading Bench back with you once again on this beautiful late weekend afternoon. And I've been thinking about this video for a while, and a couple of things have led me to do this update. And I'm going to call this how I run my Dillon XL750 in 2024 and show you where things are currently at. And it also gives me the opportunity to use this. I bought this months and months ago. I saw it online. I couldn't resist it. It's a pointer, and I thought, oh, how cool. I can use this to point to shit. So forgive the, almost looks like the finger, depending on how you look at it. But it allows me to add some brevity to the overview. So I thought I would go over how I run my Dillon XL750 in 2024. It normally sits on my mobile base, and I will reload on the mobile base in certain parts of the garage that don't have or are a little more even in terms of the surface, so that all the four casters lock nicely and I don't have a jarring session. But I'll also run it on my bench for a more enjoyable reloading session if I'm doing something longer. And as you can see, I run covers on everything. This particular cover is it's called duckbill. It's a heavy canvas, and I go to the fabric store, I pick the color I like, and then I take it to a local tailor and I give them the dimensions, and then they put it all together for me. And I find that these are great ways of preserving and protecting equipment, especially since I run my stuff in the garage. The garage gets dusty, different projects between the lathe, sanding, wire wheeling, buffing, you name it. There's just no end to the dust that accumulates, and it kind of keeps the equipment nice and clean. So let me break here and I'll pull this cover off, only to reveal a Russian doll cover. So I can't say why I did this, because I honestly don't remember. It's been, this has been over 4 years now for this particular machine, but going on 10 plus for the Hornady Lock-n-Load. And I'll probably do the same type of video on the Lock-n-Load, and then I'll do a comparison of both of them, an updated comparison that I did, again, I think about 4 years ago, on what I like and don't like on each platform, because they are different. They accomplish the exact same thing in similar ways, but they do it a little bit differently. And for whatever reason on the Hornady, I decided I would put a powder charge cover. So I just did the same thing for the Dillon. So I'm not sure where I'm going to start, but I'm going to use this. So I'll bring the camera in a little bit closer, and maybe I'll give an overview, start at the top, work my way down. I'll probably be moving the camera around so that you can see things a little bit closer. And maybe I'll talk about some of the upgrades and accessories that I'm now running. So I might be a little bit all over the place, so bear with me in terms of what I remember or not. I primarily, this setup for the Dillon 750 is only for 9mm. So I got this particular label holder from Unique Parts, and I bought a bunch of stuff from Unique Parts for my Lock-n-Load. So this was, an afterthought for the Dillon. But starting up top, I think this was entirely crimson. So you have the Dillon Precision powder cap, but I like to run mine with again, I think this was entirely crimson, a powder bullet catch, because when you have a mistake or you have to pop something with a kinetic bullet puller, it's nice to just dump it in here and not have to worry about the bullet, and you just let the powder fall through. So I found that works quite nicely. You'll probably see, a lot of this is old stuff. I did the springs here because I had to take off the fail-safe rod for on the primer powder, simply because of how I have configured this machine. So this used to be the configuration, which is why they actually have this little whatever it's called, this little device to actually hold the springs. So I've got 2 springs in here, and my powder drop is spring activated. I did pick up a knurled graduated device to actually turn my powder bar to dial in my powder, and obviously with the graduated scale I can make easy adjustments. I think that takes care of the powder measure for the most part. I have this locked in to this station with the Lee Ultimate lock rings, the split lock rings. The original ones had the Phillips head screw, as opposed to the current ones that have the Allen screw. But because of how I have things configured with other dies, I couldn't run the failsafe, and I needed this powder measure to be locked down, so this does not move from this position. And again, entirely Crimson makes a nice quick release if you were running the original failsafe rod and configuration, to be able to remove your powder supply, to dump your powder supply. So in order for me to dump my powder at the end of my reloading session, because I don't carry powder beyond my reloading session, I will take the pins out, the 2 pins, remove the entire head, and then dump the powder into a large funnel in my powder reservoir. So I think that covers, for the most part, the powder drop. I've also got a little configuration here, and I'll go get it and put it on, but I wanted you to be able to see the powder drop, powder measure before I go and do that. This is, I believe, a double alpha product, and it's I believe it's called the mini case feeder. Again, I don't run anything electronic per se, plug-in beyond the light. So I don't like a electronic bullet feeder. I don't like an electronic case feeder. They're too big, they're too noisy, they're too cumbersome, in my opinion, and they're expensive. So I went with a completely analog solution, and I'll show that here in a second. A recent change that you may have caught is I finally did change out my Lee decapping and resizing die for a Dillon 9mm. So this is a newer die in the last month or so to the setup, again with the original Lee lock rings that I actually prefer. So let me grab the double alpha case feeder and show you what that's like. This is something I added for additional stability for the double alpha mini case feeder. This is an all polymer plastic solution. It's very lightweight. It only goes on one way, and I use the nut and the bolt to give it a little bit more balance, support, because I mean there can be a lot of cases in there. I want to say 20 some odd cases times, what do we have here, times 6, so 150-ish cases, give or take, depending on my math, and that worked quite well. And again, it's all manual. You just rotate, keep an eye on what you're doing, and you just rotate. This also fills very quickly and nicely. So all I do to fill it is I rotate it so that it is blocked, and then I put the top on, and then I fill it with brass, shake it, pop the top. I do not run it with the top, and then I put it on the machine, and we are good to go for quite a number of rounds. So that works out very well. No complaints. Nice product from Double Alpha in terms of running the my version of a case feeder. And speaking of case feeder, a lot of times, you know, something will get wrong. There'll be a 380 case or a 40 gets mixed in there or whatever, and I need to stop or pause. And naturally the camera tripod is in the way. And I did a video a couple years ago on making this, and this is a very easy way to block the feed if I have a problem with, you know, an upside down case or something jammed or whatever. this allows me to just insert that and stop the process. So that came in quite handy at times. As I said, I have upgraded the lock rings to the Lee version of the Ultimate lock rings. I like these. You'll see a difference, I think, with a Lee bullet feeder here when I show it to you here in a few minutes. This, I don't know what this is called anymore. This stem, this has a roller on it as opposed to just the stem, standard stem that ships with the Dillon. So, you know, does it actually make things work better? Half a dozen of one, six of another. I'm not going to say yes. I'm not going to say no. You know, it was in my process of doing upgrades. Obviously, you can see. Actually, you probably can't. I have to remember. So this is what I was talking about. I don't remember if that was actually in the camera field of view. But again, I don't remember who made this. This might be another entirely Crimson. Again, this is going on 4+ years, so memory fades. But I'm also running, as you can see, a inline fabrication handle, and I'm also using a custom, well, this one isn't a custom mount, but this is one of their 4-inch mounts, so it gets it a little bit higher off the flush plate mount system, so that for my height, this is a perfect movement for the actual ram and handle movement combination. I've also got, as I swing the camera around, a dual bin, also from Inline Fabrication, for my bins, and I'll show that once I get over to that side of the press. I also did an upgrade for the primer catch. Blue bottle that I hacked together that is very similar to my Hornady solution, and I like that a lot because it gets things away from right here and out of this this path of mess. So when I'm reloading, I'll get my bins, pop my bins in, large bin for finished product, and then as I said, I will load up my brass in the double alpha mini case feeder, and obviously I'll have my powder, and I'll have that checked, and I'll run a few just to get that primed so that the powder is ready to go. This I really never adjust. Once I have it dialed in to my 5.1 grain of, I run unique for this particular recipe. I don't mess with it. I double check it on the scale, and I'm usually good to go. What else? I think that's about it on this side. So I'll start over here. I do run the Dillon primer alarm system with the follower. I find that works quite well. For loading primers, I think anybody who is going to use a primer fill tube and sit there and punch that 100+ times is an idiot, but to each their own. I like the double alpha Primafill, large, small. I think this is a godsend. It's great because if something does get stuck, you just pop this off and fix the stick or what's stuck, as opposed to what I used to use, the Vibra Prime, which you essentially had to take apart if any primer got stuck or went in the wrong way or did something that was unexpected. So I want to say that takes care of this side of the press. So let me move the camera around to the other side of the press, and we'll start on that side. And I get to use this again. So this is probably what I would consider the most essential component of my reloading on a progressive press, and that is the RCBS lockout die. I've done videos on this where it locks the press if there is a double charge or an undercharge. You know, if you have a recipe that calls for 5.1 grains and you're coming in at 4.9 or 5.3, this is not going to stop it. This is meant for extreme ends of the, well, I've got a potential squib for not having any powder, or I've got a potential overpressure issue for having a double charge. So this is a godsend. I will not run a progressive press without this device, which is one of the reasons why I think a larger footprint in terms of number of die stations is a sweeter spot, in my opinion. I've said that for years. 5 stations, 6 stations, it's not enough. And I'll talk about why I feel that way when I get over to the seating and crimping. So I've done plenty of videos, or at least I've done videos on my issues with the bullet feeding die. I've gotten rid of a couple of Hornady 9mm. I went over to the Lee. This thing rocks. It is an absolute saving grace for the frustration I would feel of loading this particular device up with plenty of bullets, only to have the Hornady kind of jam right in this area. It was actually easier for me to hand feed, 5 or 6 bullets at a time to be able to push down on the top of this. Whereas with the Lee, I don't have to deal with that. Unfortunately, this particular device, the MagP, which I absolutely love, and I run it for my 45 on my Lock-n-Load, he's not done anything for the new Lee dies, so I had to fashion my own collar, and I run that now. It locks down with that nut very nicely, and it works exceptionally well for me. But I'm going to move it out of the way for visibility's sake. As I said, I do all the lock rings. I'm getting old, and my OCD is maybe not kicking in as much, because when I got the Lee, I just stuck with the silver aluminum finished or bare metal finished of the aluminum lock ring with the hex, as opposed to finding or buying a set. And unfortunately, when I bought these, you could buy a set of the gold. Now you have to buy a rainbow set. So if you wanted a bunch of gold, or yellow, depending on how you look at this color, you can't get those, to my knowledge. You have to buy the rainbow set, and in order to get 4 of your particular color, if you wanted blue, red, bare, or yellow, you'd have to buy a number of sets. So I just stuck with the one that came with the Lee. So and the last die over here is an RCBS seating and crimp, which I'm not the biggest fan of, because when my son started shooting 2011s, we found that for what I shoot, this would suffice. But for the 2011s, little tighter tolerances, I needed to do a separate crimp with a Lee factory crimp die on my turret to crimp what I've already finished here, which is another reason why I'd like additional stations, because I would like additional stations for a separate seating die and a separate crimp die. And this particular footprint won't accommodate that. So it's a trade-off, best of what I have to work with. So when you see the fact that I have the powder cop, the RCBS lockout die. In fact, I don't like the powder cop just because that's very visual, and there's some that are auditory, but I prefer something that locks the press. To run the lockout die and have the powder charge and to clear everything else in this particular setup is why I had to get rid of the fail-safe charge bar, or whatever it was called, and run with the springs. And this is actually the original design back in the day, before the fail-safe bar was designed and put in place. So this is like stepping back to the future, and that's worked quite well for me. But to each their own. So I'm not endorsing getting rid of the fail-safe, but this is what I did, and it works for me. All right, I'm going to move. Actually, I'll step down a little bit. I picked up these little tabs, these plastic, I don't know if these were 3D printed. No, these aren't 3D printed, so these are injection molded. There's a time and place for 3D printing, and I like the injection molding because it's a little more forgiving to bend, as you can see. These are nice because not having these here, it's a pain in the butt to get the whatever these things are called. It keeps the cases in the shell holder. It's nice to be able to just pop those out when you need to pull a case out and look at it or check something or recycle it or whatever. And I think that's it for right here. Let me move the camera again, and I will also plug this light in. I decided to go with a plug as opposed to USB, and you'll see there's a bunch of USB, or at least some USB on my Hornady Lock-n-Load. And then I have over here the inline fabrication dual bin. So let me move the camera again. All right, so this is a sewing light, a magnetic sewing light, and it hooks onto the base, this 4-inch gap of my inline fabrication mount, and it is hella bright. So there is, you know, I've seen stuff that mounts under here, and you know, the what is it, the double-sided tape. I'm just not the biggest fan of that stuff. So I found that this allows me to move around and do whatever. And like I said, it is hella bright. So let me turn that down so you'll be able to see the dual bin. Before I got into case feeding and bullet feeding options with my Hornady, I opted for the inline fab dual bin tray because one, it's designed for their mounting systems, and two, this is an invaluable piece of reloading accessory, in my opinion, especially when I was having the issues with, you know, not the issues with this per se, but the issues with the Hornady bullet feeding die, where I had to run basically bare. So it wasn't worth keeping this on because I would have to take it off so many times to deal with a stuck bullet that I would just throw bullets in one bin, and I would have brass in another, so that I could just reach for and grab whatever I need to deal with the session or the issue at hand. So I would not run a progressive press without a dual bin tray. And do I use it all the time? Nope. But I always load it up so that I have bullets and brass just in case. Again, you know, I might get to a point where I've got a handful of primers left, and you know, I'm out of bullets. I don't want to reload with my, you know, my homemade 9mm ramp for reloading or for repopulating this particular device. So I'll pull that off and I'll load the last few by hand, and I can do that very easily by just doing that. So that comes in very, very handy. Again, I can't say enough about inline fabrication stuff. They do some amazing things. I also have a custom tool head, and you know, I've seen people etch, I've seen people scratch, I've seen people do whatever. And this was is it JF USA or JT USA? Can't remember. And it's hard to tell. It looks like JF USA. But I like the fact that it was a nice aluminum anodized. It's blue. It tells me exactly what the caliber is. Again, I don't run multiple calibers, but let's say I did. It's just a nice polished piece of hardware as compared to the unpolished. You know, if you look at how shitty this looks, you know, and I could put it, I've seen people who put these in their dry tumblers and it comes out nice and polished, but it just looks so shitty, especially for the, you know, $700 you pay for the machine. So I happen to like things that have a nice finish to them, and this had a nice finish to it. So I added that to the press. I did not upgrade anything down here with like is it Armov or, you know, some other manufacturers who have different rollers and such. I've not found the need. I don't, you know, for my case, you know, there's nothing that isn't smooth enough with what I do to notice that, oh, I need to upgrade this. So, you know, some of my upgrades are, you know, over the top. Some of them are, you know, in my opinion, completely necessary, and then some of them are debatable. In the back, you'll see right back here, I have, and again, another cover because stuff gets so dusty. And because I'm doing this one hand standing next to the camera, that isn't going to work. So hang on one second. That's probably a better view. So this is the Dillon hex wrench holder, as well as the set. Again, for anything on the actual press, it's nice to have these particular, and this one's going to be a biatch. Another reason I cover things, because these things move around, they catch everything. So by having the cover, it keeps them relatively dust free. And it looks like there's a little dust on there. And then I took the bare aluminum and shot that with truck bed so that one, it matches everything else, and two, it looks a little nicer than the lame old finish that like the powder charge has. And then I had created a base, should use this, created a base. Again, this holds my, and I'll show a better view of that from this side of the press, for my case lock or my case feeding lock mechanism. And then I installed a base here that also has this, this wrench, and this is more for my Hornady than it is for the Dillon. But again, it keeps everything, you know, an arm's reach away. And what else? And I think that's it. Let me show you how this works, and then I'll do a double check to make sure I covered everything. Back in a second. All right, so the way this works, and all this is this looks like, I think, 300 blackout. Actually, it was 223 that I reprocessed as 300 blackout and stuck a dowel in there and then just lacquered it to keep the finish. Is, let's say there's a problem with this particular, you know, case feeder. Something's stuck, something's whatever, and I need to get, you know, into here or do something, fix something. So, you know, I want to stop the case from feeding. So I would advance the ram, set that in right there, and now nothing is advancing. It was a freebie. And once I'm fixed, I pull that out, set that back on my stand, and now everything is once again working. All right, I want to say that is about it. I think I've covered everything. Maybe I'll forget something. There might be some questions. Again, I will do a very similar video. Hang on a second. There we go. Everything's in focus. I will do a similar video to how I run my Hornady Lock-n-Load, and I will then compare that machine to this machine in terms of things I like or dislike, because they are different. You know, for two presses that have the same number of stations and each station does the same thing, there are things that one press does a little bit nicer than the other, but there is no, in my opinion, clear winner that, hey, the Dillon XL750 is better than the Hornady Lock-n-Load, or the Hornady Lock-n-Load is better than the Dillon XL750. What I will say on both the Dillon and the Hornady, as a manufacturer, I'm disappointed that they have not taken up the greater than 5 station. And yeah, you could say that, oh, move up to a Dillon, you know, 1050 or 1100. Or other. Hornady just doesn't make anything more than 5 stations. Lee now has a 6-station progressive press, but you know, I'm not a big fan of the Frankfurt Arsenal for a number of reasons, but I do like the fact that they broke ground in the 10-station arena. So that is it for how I run my Dillon XL750 in 2024. And this is a nice press. I love this press, just as I love my Lock-n-Load. These are well designed, well functioning presses, and it's a lot of fun to do the upgrades. It's also the money adds up. It's expensive. Don't get me wrong. Everything is comes with a cost, And, you know, part of the reloading journey, you know, people will say, oh, I reload to save money. I don't reload to save money. I reload because I enjoy the hobby and the challenge to make better ammunition for what I like to do. And more times than not, I've said, ask myself, do I reload to shoot, or do I reload to do I shoot to reload, or reload to shoot? And I think it's about a 50-50 split because I enjoy both sides of the hobby. So when this press is not sitting here, it is on my mobile station, and I'll take a shot of that in the garage to show you what it looks like when it's not on the mobile press, because the mobile press can house any of my presses, because it has been modified to accept the flush mount plate system. So every press that I run, I use an inline fabrication mounting plate so that I can use the mobile stand and move that around the garage from my 366, my Lock-n-Loads, and my Posimus Warren, as well as, you know, the smaller Lee presses, in addition to the XL750. This is my mobile base for any press that I run. So this is a custom version of the inline fabrication flush plate mounting system, mounted on top of what used to be dedicated to a Lock-n-Load, and I have modified this to accept many things, and I've shown that over the years. When you look at the casters, these lock both from a turn as well as a roll. So again, depending on where in the garage it is, because, you know, there are little spots that are low. I like to find a spot that's, so you can see right there, I like to find a spot that's very level, and then I lock it in, and then I would have either a Lock-n-Load or, you know, any other press on this particular mobile base. So I got this idea off Gavin, probably 10 plus, 2013, 2012, yeah, maybe 12 years ago or so. Had it made, and then had to change the base to a thicker plate system, and then went from a dedicated top to a universal top that, again, can now accept just about anything I run. And it's great to be able to move this and tuck it in the garage wherever I need it. So good stuff. Later.